process actually starts with the show, but it involves many, many different aspects. And I'm going to take you through a few of these today. One important one is the clients attending. So you'll have seen in that show there that the audience, it was packed full. And some of those are press, some of those are celebrity VIPs, and some of those are clients. So in every show, there'll be a handful of clients who are lucky enough to be invited. We take these clients to the show and we give them a full treatment, put them up in one of the best hotels in Paris. We chauffeur them around for the day, normally try and have, a great dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. But it's really to build the excitement for the show, because it is an opportunity which is very limited. For those of you who have ever been to a fashion show, you'll see that actually it's only a handful of people who manage to get to one of those shows, and it really is quite an emotional experience for clients. But one of the reasons we take clients is not just to treat them, but it's also to try and get their feedback. So what we want to do is, by taking some of our top clients, is to understand what they liked about the show, what they didn't like about the show, how wearable they think it is, and give an inclination of what they will buy. The other thing that we do is that the minute the show finishes, then there will be a link on Vogue.com, on Vogue Runway, for all of the looks from the show. So one thing that we do is we send that link out to all of our clients that we have a good relationship with, and we invite them to give us feedback on the show. Very casual, informal feedback, but we want to know what they think about the show. We'll sometimes take some of the key looks that we think are suitable for that individual client, and we'll send it to them, maybe 3 or 4 looks, saying, show's just finished, these looks perfect for you, what do you think? And again, it's just opening that dialogue with the client, because all of these different things actually help the buying process. The more feedback you can have from the clients, the easier it is for us to buy effectively. Once we've got that feedback from clients, then each member of the team will start collating their own feedback, and then there will be a meeting with their managers to try and get a bit of an overview of what looks are going to be successful, what looks aren't going to be successful. And again, in the picture here, you'll see the check pattern there. We want feedback. Is the check going to be successful? Is it not going to be? And it's very difficult, because the show is launched and then you don't get the product till 6 months later. So you have to really try and guess what the trend in the market is going to be. And with a show like Dior, actually they set the trend rather than follow. So it's a little bit of guesswork, but the more feedback you can get from clients, the easier it makes it for us. We also take all the feedback from the fashion press. So this is actually really critical as part of the buying process, because the fashion press can really help or hinder a collection. So we will read everything that Vogue or Harper's Bazaar post about the show, whether it be their actual physical reports or their Instagram posts, and then Business of Fashion, Elle. So lots of different publications will comment on the show. And we want to try and get a general feeling of how everyone perceives the show. And the reason we want to do that is not just, for vanity, is it going to be successful, but actually to know, do we need to invest a little bit more of our open to buy, which I'll cover in a minute, to cover this collection. The following day, the day after the show, we will take those clients who were lucky enough to experience the show. We will actually take them to the showroom, where we have all of the looks from the show set up, and they can go and discover the collection in a little bit more detail. They can't try the pieces on, but they can touch the pieces to understand the materials that are used, to understand, you'll see some of the pieces here, the craftsmanship that's involved in them. We'll also be able to start sharing with them a little bit more about the garment. So the piece in the middle there actually took over 300 hours of handwork to be able to have those embroideries on that dress. So we can start sharing that, a little bit more of a savoir-faire with the client. The client can also place orders on the collection. And again, this is quite a unique experience, because they know if they order a piece, that piece is going to be made for them, and they will receive that before the collection launches. Again, at the end of that day, and this is for clients all around the world, we will be able to have a bit of a view of what pieces are the most requested, and also again what looks are not as popular as we had hoped. And then the buying process starts. So we have the collection reveal. So generally this is 2 days after the show. So the clients, we have the show. The next day, the clients see the collection in the preview. The clients, they then depart Paris and the buying process starts and the collection reveal. Now, in the show, you will see, normally on a show will have about 70 looks, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, but on average about 70 looks. However, that isn't the whole collection. The whole collection will include the catwalk, the showpieces, plus what we call the commercial collection. So the commercial collection all fits in with the theme of the show. However, it's pieces that Maria Grazia Chiuri in this case decided not to show, but wants to have in the stores, in the boutiques when we launch the collection. So it's vast. You'll have 70 looks on the show and normally around about 100 and something looks which didn't make the show part of the commercial collection. Also, you'll have noticed in the video there that you saw probably only 3 or 4 bags and 4 or 5 different pairs of shoes. And again, you'll know from going into luxury boutiques, you know, a lot of the floor space is taken up with the leather goods, the handbags and the shoes. And so the collection of handbags, actually, there may be 60, 70, 80 bags in the collection, but only 5 of them made the catwalk, and again with the shoes. So we get to see this. The first point of that is that we will look, go into the showroom and actually discover all the commercial collection pieces to see how the collections tie together. Following that, we will then have a talk from the creative director. So in this case, Maria Grazia Chiuri, but if it was men's, it would be Kim Jones. And the creative director will take us through their inspiration from the show, how they came up with the concept and what their major influences are. And this is really key for us because actually you need to fully understand the collection and how it was conceived before you start the buying process. We'll then have a global strategy, and the global strategy is normally headed up by the creative director with the president of Dior, Pietro Beccari, and it will go through top line information. So it will go through, in this collection, how are we going to divide the collection up? Because what we don't do is we don't launch the whole collection straight away. What we do is we divide it into 3 waves, and a wave just means a drop of stock, but it may be that actually the tailored pieces that you see in the first image with Ruth Bell wearing there, that may be, the tailored pieces may be wave 1. We then may decide that actually wave 2 is going to be all the checks and the stripes, and wave 3 is all the gowns and the dresses. And this is where it's quite important then to start thinking, how are we going to then do the windows? How are we going to do the in-store visual merchandising once the collection launches? And also what quantities we want to put in each wave, because you'll need to balance it somewhat so you don't have, 80% of your money in the first wave and then nothing coming in wave 2 and 3. And the waves are generally 4 weeks apart. So if you launch wave 1 the first week of July, then wave 2 would generally be the first week of August, and then wave 3 the first week of September. And the reason we do that as a brand is to keep the collection fresh and keep the client wanting to come back in store and see some newness. In the global strategy as well, we'll have decided what will be the press pieces. So what is our press department going to push with, Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and all the local magazines, and also what is going to be the key pieces for the window schemes. So again, 3 waves, 3 window schemes, and what are going to be the key pieces for that. We'll also then go through the key focuses by category. So for women's ready-to-wear, that's quite easy. It's split into waves. But then actually the key focuses for handbags is, are we going to really get behind the bags that were in the show? Or are they more for image and we want to get behind the commercial pieces which are in the commercial collection? And again, it will be a focus for each category. And the categories are obviously women's ready-to-wear, but bags, shoes, small leather goods, fashion jewellery and eyewear. So quite detailed focuses on each category. What are the key looks? Why are they the key looks? And what else is in the collection? And then finally, in this long meeting, sometimes can be 6 hours, we will talk about the global open to buy. So the open to buy is simply how much money we are going to invest as a business in this collection. And the open to buy is is based on the last collection sell-through. So how much of that collection did we sell? If we sold above our target, then the open to buy in this collection would tend to be higher. And if we sold below the target, then the open to buy, the amount of money we can spend in the collection will be lower. So we'll talk about the global open to buy and then about a key strategy. So at the moment, because there's insecurity about, what's going to happen in the world and a bit of ambiguity. If we were launching a collection today, we would probably have less open to buy because we're not sure what the trends are going to be. We're not too sure if consumers are going to come back the same way as they were. So once we've then had the global strategy, the global overview, we then start looking at a little bit more of a local scale. And I'm going to take you through the buying for two categories: leather goods. So I'm going to focus on bags and shoes, and then ready to wear, because it's done slightly differently. So within leather goods, we will then have a few people from Europe talking about a European assortment. So there may be, 150 different bags in this collection. And what we will do is we'll then meet and we will decide, okay, which bags are we going to have in the assortment, as in the buy for Europe, and which bags are we going to, we're not going to have. So this is quite important because, again, each market is different. So if I'm there for the UK, I may have quite a different view from someone from Italy or someone from Paris. So it's about trying to find a compromise of, we can't have 150 bags. So how are we going to compromise? How are we going to narrow down that collection to make sure it's very focused, it has the right image of the show, but also it has some commerciality so we can achieve the sell-through targets. The challenges so if we take this Bobby bag here in the photo, so this bag in the commercial collection will be produced in 3 sizes. It will be in small, medium and large in the black leather. It will be small, medium, large in the tan color, small, medium, large in the fabric oblique, and etc., etc. So it's not possible for to stock all sizes in all colors in all bags. So what we will have to do is decide for Europe which of those sizes we want to have. So maybe we decide we're going to play the Bobby bag in black in large and medium, but we'll do the tan in small and medium, and then we'll do the white only in small. And again, it's a discussion based on trends, on what's worked previously, but also what fits in with the show. We'll then also have to look at the overall assortment of how many bags we've bought in small, how many medium, and how many in large, so selected in those 3, because again, you want to have a reasonable mix. You don't want to, although we know smaller bags sell better than large bags, what we don't want to do is have 90% of the money put in small bags, because again, it won't look great when it hits the boutique, and it will just look like it's a small, small bags are the only things that Dior do. After the European assortment, we then break away and we do our own local assortment. So this is where, for me, I will then go through what's been edited for the European assortment, what have we decided we're going to have in Europe, and what have we decided not to have. And then I'll do my buy based on that. So I can't buy pieces that are not in the European assortment. I can only buy pieces that are going to be ranged for Europe. However, there's still plenty of pieces there. And what I then need to do is narrow down the collection again to look at, for my business, what do I want to have? What do I want to have put quantities behind, and what do I want to bet on? So, for example, it may be that this Bobby bag, we know there's going to be a bit of a press campaign with it. We know the feedback of it was very strong. So it might be I actually decide to put much more quantity in this bag than I probably would in maybe the Saddle bag, or maybe 30 Montaigne bag, or maybe the Lady Dior bag. And again, we start playing around with quantities. So thinking about, for this bag, I may want to buy 10 or 15, whereas in the white, I only want to buy 5, etc. And so we start putting in all of our quantities and then comparing it to our open to buy. So the amount of money we're allowed to spend, which is always in euros at cost price, which is difficult for the UK because we sell in pounds sterling at retail price. So you have to do some quick mental maths to try and work out where you are. But you want to then make sure that your assortment adds up to your total open to buy. Sometimes if a collection's really strong, you'll realize you go over your open to buy straight away, and then you spend hours trying to whittle down what not to have or trying to reduce quantities. We do the same for shoes. So again, the same process. We go through the assortment for Europe, and then the local assortment where you add your quantities. Once we've got everything there, we input that into the buying tool, the buying machine, and that is then set. So we did this in February, so that's set. And actually, our launch is in the next couple of months. I can't change anything, although I know between February and when the collection launches, I know things will happen. I know that other brands have got behind, certain aspects from the show. I know that some of the brands like Zara and pieces who decide to get inspiration from the shows, they've started producing something in big quantities. So once it's set, there can't be any changes because that goes straight to our own factories, and they start producing those quantities for the stores and for Europe, for the world. The ready-to-wear buy is slightly different. So the ready-to-wear buy is done normally a week after the show. So because if you think you've got the client preview day, you've got the global strategy day, and then you've got a couple of days buying of the leather goods, the bags and shoes. So normally we'll go back to Paris a week after the show, and we'll go through the ready-to-wear buying, which is generally a 2-day process. And what will happen is we don't do it at European level, we only do it at store level, and we will have a group of models who will try on every single one of the show looks and every single one of the commercial looks. And again, we'll do it in waves. So we know at this stage what wave 1, 2 and 3 is going to look like. And what we'll do is we'll start going through and we'll start seeing the fabric, seeing the fit. There's some pieces that look amazing on the catwalk, but actually when you get up close and you touch the piece, you'll realize that the fabric's very coarse, or it's much heavier than it looks. And so you have to then start thinking about the wearability of this and how are the clients going to react to that. And again, we only know this from being in the boutiques, on the shop floor, and seeing past collections of what works well, what doesn't work well. And again, for our own markets, if I'm in the UK, then I've got to obviously buy for my local British clients. However, before this whole situation, we used to have a lot of European, we used to have a lot of Asian and Chinese clients coming over for a few weeks. We used to have Middle Eastern in the summer. So again, looking at when the collection launches, you need to think about what clients you'll have in the boutiques and how you adjust your buy for those clients. And in the ready-to-wear buy, you go straight to adding in quantities. So for example, the looks that we have here, I'll have to decide, do I buy this look? Yes or no? And if I buy this look, I'll need to put quantities in by size. So I'll need to decide how many of this look am I going to have in a 34, a 36, a 38, a 40, 42, 44, and a 46? Is that look going to appeal to someone who is small, who's a 34, 36? Is it going to appeal to someone who's slightly larger, maybe a 44 or 46? And again, you have to then work each look, and it's quite a long process of, I'm going to buy this look in a smaller size, but this look in a more generous size because of the fit and the fabrics, and you put in quantities. And the quantities may be one of each size, or maybe 2 of each size. It will very rarely be much more than that. And again, you'll then have to narrow down the collection with 70 show looks and maybe 100 commercial looks, have to narrow it down so it fits into your open to buy. So it's a great process, but it's very, very long-winded. It's very manual. And then you're constantly looking at where you are in your buy against your budget and your open to buy, so that you don't exceed it. And then 6 months later, the collection launches in the boutique. So this is such a fundamental part of the buying process that, and I think some people, when they talk about buying, they think the buying is actually just sitting in head office, buying collection, looking at new product. Actually, the buying process is very 360 degrees. And almost as critical as what you've bought is what happens when you're in the boutique. And the reason for that is if you do not hit your sell-through target, then for the next collection, you won't have much money to buy the newest pieces of the latest collection. So this is almost as critical, if not more critical, than any other part of the buying process. So the launch in the boutique, the planning for this starts normally 6 to 8 weeks before the collection launch date. So for the launch that I've got in September, we've already started the planning now. We will agree what the window scheme looks like. We'll agree the pieces that are going to be in the windows, and we'll start planning, sketching what the in-store visual merchandising looks like. We'll also at this point, we'll start sharing the allocations with the department managers. So the manager of leather goods, manager of ready-to-wear, we'll start sharing that allocation with them. So they've got 6 weeks to really understand what pieces they're going to be receiving, and they can actually start targeting clients about it at the right time. So, for example, now we'll have the images for the winter collection, and we'll have only at this stage we'll have the show pieces. But what we can start doing is teasing the clients by sending them WhatsApp photos of the collection of pieces they would like, and we can start actually pre-selling that allocation. So if there's a particular look that we know is going to work very well, actually it would be a good idea to introduce it to our top spenders so that they can get that look, because we know it's going to sell out. And this is an opportunity for us to take money on a collection that hasn't launched yet. And the reason we do that is so that it will help us achieve our sell-through target. At this stage as well, we'll also look at what communication we're going to have to the client. So is it going to be a European or a global communication? Is there going to be a press launch? Are there going to be images which are sent out on Dior.com and in different magazines? And what communication we want locally to a client? And again, at this stage, we'll start planning for events. So with the launch of this collection, do we want to do a big event? Do we want to do a trunk show, get clients in? Do we want to do a big cocktail party? What do we want to put behind the event to ensure it's a very successful launch, but also something that's different than previous? And then a little bit nearer the time, normally 2 or 3 weeks before the collection launches, we'll then do quite in-depth training on the collection with the team. So it's important every single team member understands the inspiration in the collection, what we're going to have, the different waves, what's been bought for your store and what hasn't been bought for your store, so that they can manage expectations as well. And we'll then set up some of the CRM campaigns. So we have an amazing in-house tool which has all of our client details on it. And we'll start setting up a campaign to be able to target the clients, to be able to talk and communicate the information to the clients about this collection. And as I mentioned, the whole reason we do all of this is so that we can achieve our sell-through target of full price sell-through of around about 75 to 80% sell-through of each collection. We'll then, as the collection launches, we'll then have to go through different parts of it. So wave 1 launches, you'll see how successful you are for that. And then 4 weeks later, wave 2 launches. And again, the process is the same, talking to clients, letting them know newness has come in, looking at the VM setup. And that will continue. Again, the team at this point can start being creative. They can get looks styled together, trying to create a look with the best piece of ready-to-wear, with shoes, with bags, and get photos of this sent out to clients. So then the creativity can come into play. And all of this because obviously we need to hit that sell-through target so that for the next buy, you've got enough open to buy for the next collection. So that's a very, very quick, quite simple overview of the buying process.